So we shot a commercial for BMW, and to be honest, this has always been a dream of mine. I'm super into cars. I like driving them. I like playing around with them. I'm also, as you maybe know, I'm a professional filmmaker, so combining these two things was just super epic for me personally and also for our entire company. And I thought, why not share a little bit of the story, a bit of the, a bit of the planning process, a bit of the filming, and just, giving you a bit of the behind the scenes look into how we made a commercial for BMW. So the car we got for filming was the BMW i4 M50, which is just an absolutely amazing car. And the goal for this video to show off, on one hand, the driving experience and the driving pleasure and having fun with a car, but on the other hand, also the, the sustainability aspect, because this is an electric car and in the future we won't have any gasoline cars. So, just finding a bit of the balance and also showing off some of the modern aspects with the curved display inside of the car. So this was roughly the outline that we had for this video. And this was my plan. And when I reached out to BMW Austria, super thanks again to BMW Austria for working together with us. I was just super stoked when they agreed on making this video, and I'm actually super stoked and proud that the video you saw in the beginning of this video has also been published by BMW themselves, which is just awesome. And additionally to the driving shots and also to the modern aspects and the sustainability aspects, we also wanted to add some studio shots of the car where, the goal was to just film outside and place some cool lights, actually the ones that you can see behind me. And I just wanted to get some epic shots and, a combination of all of these things. This was the plan to make the entire commercial, and I think it came out pretty good. So the pre-production process for a project like this is always super important, and this is actually something that gets overlooked very often by beginners. The better you plan your video, the more time and effort you put into this, the easier time you will have when you're actually filming the video, and then later on, of course, also in the editing process, as you don't have to figure out everything on the go. The way and how I approached the pre-production process is I was just sitting at my desk, I was listening to Brain FM to really focus on the task that I'm doing, and I was just writing down all of the different shots that I knew that I wanted to get. I have been filming cars, and I actually have already made a commercial for BMW like 3 years ago, so I just wrote down all of the different shots that I knew that were going to look epic. So for example, I knew that having some Dutch angles with a telephoto lens will always look awesome. I also knew that drone shots will look awesome, and then on the other hand, I also knew that we wanted to show off the electric part, so having a part where you can actually see that this is an electric car. This will also look awesome, and then some of the beauty shots. So basically I just wrote everything that was in my head already. I just wrote that down and sort of created like a shot list. This was not like an entire script yet, and not like, a shot by shot process and how the final video will be, but I just had a pretty good outline on what I had to film to be able to accomplish this video in the end. Another thing that's also super important for the pre-production process is location scouting, as it's super difficult to film a car, especially if you're filming on a busy street. If there are lots of people out there, you don't want to have other cars in your shot. And again, the better you plan this, the easier time you will have. So we were lucky in this case that we had the car at our studio here, and we just knew the surroundings. So basically I was just thinking about different streets where I knew like, okay, we can film there easily, and there were not too many people going on, and we also, did not, disturb anyone else. So these were sort of like the things that I was looking for when I was actually location scouting. When it comes to the gear for making these kinds of videos, you can actually use whatever you have. And actually, we also made a BMW commercial with my smartphone, but we'll talk more about that at the end of the video. For the main commercial, we were using the Canon R5C. It's this baby right here. This is just an absolutely fantastic camera. I absolutely love this. The image that you can get out of this is just completely next level. We were using this together with an adapter to adapt EF lenses. And inside of this adapter is also a variable ND filter, so we could use our regular Canon EF lenses but still get an ND filter, which is just awesome. When it comes to the lenses, there were basically 3 lenses that we were using all the time. The first one was the 35mm to capture some close-up shots when the car was standing, but also when I was using the gimbal for certain shots. Next to that we had the 85mm and then the 70-200. These were basically the three lenses that we were using all the time, and I think the combination of the wider look with the full frame sensor and the 35mm, but then also having some shots at 200mm just created a very nice, rounded out image. And for the drone, of course, we were also using a wide angle shot. Besides the camera and these three lenses, we were also using a 3-axis gimbal for some shots, and for some shots I was also using a CPL filter, a circular polarizer, but to be honest, there were just a few certain shots and I don't think that any of these actually made it in the final edit. So when it comes to the gear, you actually need less than you might think. The settings we used for this shoot was actually super simple. We were shooting in 4K at 24 frames per second. Shutter speed was always twice the frame rate. With the cinema camera, you can use the shutter angle instead of shutter speed, so that's super nice. I was thinking about shooting this in 8K, but to be honest, the workflow, it would have been too much, and also, considering the amount of footage that we captured, it would have just been too much. So 4K, 24 frames per second. The white balance, of course, was adjusted as we were going. I tried to keep my ISO around 800 as this is the native ISO of this camera. But yeah, that's basically the settings we were using. So the shooting process for a commercial like this is always super exhausting, but super fun on the other side. We were shooting like for 3 to 4 days, and we were pretty much every day shooting right after sunrise. And since we shot this in May here in Austria, the sun rose at about 5 a.m. So we were waking up at 4:30 a.m. And it was very tough, especially also considering that we were shooting during the night sometimes to getting these night shots. But it was just well worth it. As you know, during golden hour, you just get the most beautiful shots. And when it comes to shooting these videos, something that I can give you on the way is capture more than you think, capture large varieties of different shots, capture shots shot on a gimbal where the car is driving past you, capture the same shots with a telephoto lens, get some Dutch angles, get some shots shot from another car. This is something that just looks absolutely fantastic if you have these tracking shots, especially if the car is moving around and changing the lanes. This just looks absolutely fantastic and absolutely awesome. It's a bit dangerous, to be honest, so if you're doing this, definitely make sure to take care. Safety always comes first, of course. And we were thinking about doing this out of the trunk from the back, but then what we ended up doing actually was just sitting in the back seat and then hanging out of the windows, as I just felt more secure doing this in that way. So for these shots, I was mostly using a gimbal for stability, as if you're hanging out of a window, it just gets bumpy very quickly. And then I was also using the 85mm. And then I tried to bring my camera as close to the ground as possible, as then the car just feels much faster than it actually is. The best time for getting these tracking shots and the best time for making a car video in general, like I said before, is right after sunrise, so super early in the morning. First of all, you have beautiful light, and then secondly, there are not many people out there, as most people are still sleeping. So as I've mentioned before, I also got tons of shots with my smartphone, with the iPhone 14 Pro, but also with the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra. And we were also using the Scion Crane M3S for this, as we were doing also some tracking shots with the smartphone, and I was actually also using the small rig cage, and I was also using an anamorphic lens. And to be honest, I have to say I was really pleasantly surprised in how the Crane M3S handled this, because you have to consider we were driving at, I don't know, around about 50-60 kilometers per hour. I was hanging out of the window with my smartphone, with the cage, with the lens attached, and I was filming the other car. And it actually handled that super fine. I have made a full review about the Crane M3S in case you want to see that. I will definitely link that down below. Filming a car with a smartphone in many instances is actually easier and actually will deliver better results compared to using, an 8K cinema camera, as I have it right here. The reason for that, first of all, is the size. For some interior shots, it was just super difficult to get them even with that camera, because with the gimbal and so on, it was just too narrow and I couldn't get it. With a smartphone, especially shooting handheld or also with that gimbal, I could get some very cool looking shots. I also made a couple of reels for Instagram. And most of them, for most shots, I was just taking the shots that I shot with my professional cinema camera. But actually in that final video there were also a couple of shots that I shot with my smartphone, as they were just better, especially the vertical videos compared to the ones that I got with the big cinema camera. If you are considering shooting a car video with your smartphone, then absolutely do that. I think that will be great fun. I would recommend that you get yourself a gimbal. This will just make your life so much easier. And if you have the means for that and you are using an iPhone, I would maybe consider getting a better telephoto lens to get some of these epic shots. I also got many shots with the Galaxy S23 Ultra, and this already has a very good telephoto lens. The 10x lens just creates some stunning videos. So there you have it, just a quick overview over how we shot this video for BMW. If you're interested in the entire editing process, we do cover this in depth, in detail inside of our Smartphone Filmmaking Pro Masterclass. I will link it down below. It will be the first link. In case you have not seen the video where I'm showing you how you can get some cinematic shots with your Galaxy S23 Ultra, then click this video over there.